Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of AC Discovery, my weekly Saturday show where I sit down and talk about animes and or comics. And I'm continuing on today with my run-through of Death Note. We're going to go over the episodes Impatience and Father today. So as established in the last episode, you've got Mello kidnapping Light's sister in order to basically get the Death Note. And you've got Nier confronting Light, saying, "I know your other L. I know you're a new L. I know you're not the original L." So in this episode, we pick up with a definite shift out of like psychological thriller territory into just straight action thriller kind of stuff. You have like helicopters and missiles and explosions and stuff. So like it's definitely more Michael Bay now than it had than Alfred Hitchcock or something like that. You do have a pretty significant loss for Light here because he does get kind of like completely waylaid. You have the arrangement here is Light's father is going to bring the Death Note to America for the gangsters or whatever, the mob that Mello is running, but they kind of hijack him en route. They kind of redirect Mr. Yagami and kind of force him onto a different plane, and then that plane gets like hijacked and taken to a different location to drop Mr. Yagami off. So you have Light not being in control of the situation, and he's freaking out. He's trying to figure out, you know, how to go about it. He contemplates killing his sister, but really it wouldn't have done him any good, so he kind of draws back from that. But ultimately you have the Death Note getting to Mello in this episode, or to the mafia that Mello is like in cahoots with. It doesn't seem like he's really the one calling the shots. It seems like he's in theory he's calling the shots, but he's not like the face of the organization. There is like a big boss above him, and maybe he's like the stooge or something like that, but he's clearly the mastermind of it, and he's the one who's been trying to get the note. As he gets the note, you have a whole bunch of the SPK people that N has been working with just fall dead, because apparently it seems like that has been like it's a game to Mello, and so he's kind of taunting and teasing Nier. And then the last little development we have in this episode is another Shinigami appears in the Shinigami world and basically talks to somebody about, "Oh hey, remember that note, that Death Note that I lost years ago? Turns out Ryuk had it, and so now I have to go to the human world to get it. You know, so glad that he waited 4+ years to finally decide he wants to get his notebook back." So in talking to some friends about the show in the last couple weeks, and having gotten to the big turning point of the show, a lot of people have kind of been like, yeah, the show kind of falls off in the end, and it's not that it falls off, it's that it's become a very different show, and it is more action heavy, and it's like it's not a game of chess anymore. It's just like boxing, I guess. It's like just beating you in the face. It's MMA or something like that. Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I probably should have just stopped. Then the other episode you have is Father. And the other Shinigami was introduced. He gets a name here, Shido. And neither he nor Ryuk know where the other notebook is, because that's the one that got traded off to the mafia people in the last episode. And like ownership has become so convoluted of the Death Note. Like I was trying to figure out and track, okay, well, so the mafia people in Mello have the original Death Note, right? So in this episode, Light gives a Death Note to his father, and was that like Misa's original Death Note? So Light still has the one that Rem left behind when Rem killed L and died. So like I had kind of forgotten that. So it's very convoluted and juggling, and I just like, you've lost the track of this. It's all just become confusing and a mess, and that's not how you want to treat an audience. Like, at least, like, if we could devote an entire goddamn episode to like flashbacks and clips and stuff, you can throw in a line here to help remind people, okay, this is this Death Note, and this is why it's okay that Light can give this one away, but still get one from Misa. Yeah, it's frustrating and annoying. You do have the big, obviously the big thing of this episode is Soichiro Yagami gets the Death Note from his son as like part of the mission here, to retrieve the other Death Note that he gave away to get his daughter back. And you have him making a deal with the Shinigami, with Ryuk, to get the Shinigami eyes. They all, the police, the task force goes in and attacks the Mafia on a tip from, quote-unquote Kira, which is basically Misa playing Kira now. She has gone through and basically, like, written down all the Mafia names she could find to die at this certain point in time, so that the police have, like, their best opportunity to get the notebook back. And that's what they do. Like, it's a clever little, like, use of the Shinigami eyes, I guess, because you have Light's father, like, looking at the pictures, and then when they all die, like, he can no longer see the names and their lifespans above them anymore. So that's when he knows that the hideout is clear to go ahead and take his team in. Light Senior, Light's dad, goes in there, discovers Mello and his real name, and starts to write down the name, but Mello basically calls his bluff and says, "You never kill anybody." So he gets one of his little minions to shoot the hell out of Yagami Senior, but somehow he magically survives long enough to get to a hospital bed so that he can see Light later on. And because earlier in the episode Light relinquished his Death Note, he doesn't have, Light's father can see above his like lifespan above his head and know that he's not Kira, quote unquote, know that he's not Kira. It's not a satisfying ending for Light's father, because it's like, for somebody who has been so upstanding and so like trying to play by the book and everything, for him to have sacrificed himself and die and never find out the truth and kind of go in ignorance is like, it's nice for him, but it's not satisfying for the audience. The audience wanted to see him have to come to terms, or not even have to come to terms, but have to see him realize and have that, like, even if it was just like, if that was what killed him or something like that, was to see, like, to open his eyes and see that his son, is Kira, or has used the Death Note or whatever. Yeah, it's just not satisfying. Like, I'm having a hard time coming up with what I even want to say about these two episodes, because they just weren't interesting. They weren't engaging. They traded in the psychology of that really drew me in the beginning, and the really, what would you do if you had a Death Note, to now it's just like Kira versus Mello versus two characters I don't give a shit about because they've been introduced so late in the game, and they have this rivalry that I don't care about because I don't know them, and it's just not engaging. I don't, like, at this point I kind of don't even care if Light wins or loses, because he won when he beat L, and there's like nothing for him left. The last little thing that happens in this episode is that, like, Light gives Shido his Death Note back, which I think was the original one that started this all. But again, I'm so fucking confused on which Death Note is which and who's it went to and how. So I'm lost. I'm lost on the fucking Death Note tracking, and I'm angry because the show just is like, it's not a fun show now. We're throwing in explosions and random mafia like attacks, and I don't care. I just don't care about this. So those are my thoughts on these episodes of Death Note. Like, at this point I just kind of want to, like, try and burn through the whole rest of the series, and just get it kind of over with, because I don't know if I want to do this for another month. Like, if the last 10 episodes or whatever I'm at, like, leave me feeling like this every time, I definitely just want to get this over with and move on to something new. So let me know what you think about Death Note in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.